already the series has introduced, actually, I think a really good concept. Because the whole thing that about Jackman versus so far, just like comparing it to a lot of other series, you know, just look at it in comparison to a lot of other like shonen like weeklies, is it doesn't have anything like a superpower system. There's no like magic, there's no like crazy elemental swords, there's no like mutations. It's all about science, and obviously this is like crazy super future like cybernetic science, but still science. And the questions was going to be like, well, what about things like, you know, upgrades? Is it just going to be like, you know, we're doing stuff in the lab, or oh yeah, we have this upgrade, we're going to send it to you? But we know that from chapter 1 to chapter 2, there are differences between the robots. Like if you look at the robot in chapter 2 and the guy in the suit in this chapter, this guy actually has one of these big zipper suits, and it has a number on it. The main character, Kaname, he's sporting, you know, the one that has number 001, and this guy, you know, in the, was the name, like it was Cutie something, Cutie Flash, or whatever this fictional character's name is, but her number was 028, so obviously there's going to be a gap between, oh, well, what is just a normal robot and what is going to be one of these cybernetic suits. And this whole, like, aspect introduced when they're like have this weird zipper object and like, you know, what exactly is this? I actually didn't think of the shape being a zipper until like near the end of the last chapter. I don't think I mentioned it in the review. It's just funny to kind of look at it, and in a normal scenario like any other manga, if you saw that shape, you'd just be like, oh, that's just weird looking. But obviously with the style of this one with the zippers, it's going to have relevance if it has something that you can kind of like, does this go on a zipper? I'm so curious to know like what kind of like weird kind of like concepts you can work with that. Are you gonna have like I have a coat that has a zipper that it's magnetic, so you know you go to put it on it, like the two little pieces like stick together really fast, so it makes sliding the, I actually don't know what the zipper components are, but you know what I mean, the little part that goes in zipper to zip it up, it just makes it easier to do that. Like, would you be able to work that into a character? And I actually think that concept is so funny. Like, could you imagine, like, I'm hoping this series does well and, you know, gets, doesn't get canceled. And it's like, well, you know, what are we going to do to figure out what the author is doing for, you know, X, and Y, like, up and coming? And you just look up, like, types of zippers and, like, how could we figure out, you know, maybe what they're planning. But, as it were, you know, they're battling this character, and the knowledge that Kaname has is, you know, he knows about this one because I guess the show comes on right after the episodes of Jackman on TV. You know, he still watches the show. Obviously, you know, it was a show growing up to him, you know, it meant a lot to him. As well as he wanted to play the character on TV, and this other one that comes on right after it, he would watch it, and he's like, oh, yeah, there's actually like a huge like a martial arts on this Magical Schoolgirl one, which I thought was kind of funny, but at the same time, like, yeah, I mean, that's how you get more people to watch it, you know, break out of the norm. But, as it were, you know, she's just, like, shooting lasers. I don't know what's her name, Cutie Charm or something, but she's, like, shooting lasers and just, like, melting the concrete and the metal around him, which, again, it's pretty neat, because, obviously, when it comes to something, like, you got some superpower, you got magic and whatnot, you don't have to abide by a lot of, like, actual science aspects. You know, it's like when you shoot a lot of energy attacks. Like, obviously, easy example, big fairy tale fan. You don't get a lot of scenes where, like, Natsu uses a roar, and logically, like, how powerful, like, just his normal heat is, he should be, like, just leaving big molten areas of rock and metal every single time he attacks. But, you know, it's not going to always happen. I mean, it's, you know, it's whatever in this. But now with science, you don't get that little bit of that free pass. It's like, well, it's magic. Maybe it's not going to do, you know, all the science, like, reactionary effects every time. This is straight science, so you're gonna have that, and the author seems to be, you know, paying a good attention to detail on that, which I like. But even when he goes to use his was 100,000 horsepower Jack Rocket, he goes to try and throw that. The dude uses his laser and melts it, and then goes in for the close quarters combat to try and launch some attacks. This chapter I actually really like, because in chapter 2 it was much more centered around the interactions between the main character and his brother. Usually you'd get like the second fight or some form of, like power exposition in chapter 2, but it was more set on that. It was much more of that, how do these two characters interact with each other? They're going to be, constantly talking to each other as, one wears the suit, one is part of the suit. So it was nice to have that whole establishment early on. And this chapter is also obviously mostly about the action. We still get to see some of the inner, like, kind of components of how these characters work. What's this? Koshiro, I think, is the other twin's name, the smarter one. Believe that's his name. But he's he's just on like the way that he would kind of like look at scenarios and that like kind of his weaknesses while at the same time being his greatest asset. Like, there's like a part where like a cat's stuck in a tree, and Kaname, who's he's an action guy. He likes to get stuff done. He goes and he tries to get right in there. He wants to go and try and help this cat. And while I don't know why I started really there while trying to figure out a word to use, but while he was in there, like trying to figure out what to do, here's his brother who's more of like, I watch you do stuff, see what you're doing, and then strategize. So you have the others like work in synergy. Like, I am the one that goes and does like planning after seeing your actions, and you operate while I figure out the best way to advance on that. And then I think that synergy is going to be really good for them, because the rival to me, I think the core characters, in my opinion, for a series is you have the main character, the main character's rival, whoever their love interest character is, because there's well, unless you just don't have one. I mean, I like 90-something% of series are always going to be a love interest, but you include one, and the main, the main antagonist. I think those are like the most important four. Main antagonist is kind of hard because sometimes you don't get to the main guy until way later on, or they're not always going to be around. But like the main character, rival, and love interest character, you got to have those good. And so far, we got the main character, and his brother, I assume, is going to be his rival. If not, then we'll figure out later on who that is. But assuming it is now, those two are both pretty solid. I like that. I like their synergy. I like their back and forth. While at the same time, they're able to use each other in order to improve. Don't know much about China yet, but she's existent. She seems likable so far. But while they kind of like figure out about this zipper, and he goes to look at it because he goes to look at China. It says something about fusion, and it's connectable, and it has like a little thing about its aspects as it's steam powered. And he had one of the fists that he shot when he used his rocket punch. It got melted, so now he just has this big like blank spot on his hand, like on his arm, and then has her throw him the zipper component, like puts it in his arm, unzips it, and is able to get this giant, like, huge, bulking, like, extra fist. I think that concept was really cool, because one, that's not character specific. It's not like, oh yeah, this is my thing, I got this thing, and to add onto my suit, no one else could use it. Like, just assuming the way that this all works, it's not been fully explained, but I think it's accurate enough to kind of get a guess. You're gonna have the suits and their powers, but all of these kind of like interchangeable parts anyone could use. Like, maybe we'll get another character with one of these suits. Maybe it'll be Cheetah. She'll get her own suit, and it's like, oh well, she doesn't have a weapon. Throw her one of, he could throw him one of, or he could throw her one of his like one of these zipper weapons, and put that onto their suit. Like, it have like ways that characters can improve. Be like, I want to improve on this area that I'm weak at. Can I use? I don't think it says the name of what these are called, but actually no. You can kind of make out the text on the chapter. It shows it. I think it's Zipman Fusion or something. Probably just what it's called, but ends up gearing that up and uses a steam jack rocket and just launches that at him. And it's just a bigger, more powerful fist. The heat from her big laser should still melt it. But that's exactly like, again, what they're expecting, because they went to go take the suit off instead, runs up and grabs onto the zipper and undoes the battle armament boosted suit. So now they're gonna have not only this character, exposed, whoever it is that they're gonna either have on their team or defeat an opponent, but they should have that suit in general now and can take it, and maybe that'll be China's suit. Now I like that aspect. I like the idea of, you don't have to destroy your opponents. If you defeat them, you can take their suits from them and maybe give it to one of your allies, or, you know, maybe use its parts to upgrade your own. There's a lot of potential in that whole aspect, and the layout of how powers and the suits work in the series. And so far, I talked about that a little bit in the other reviews. I like the premise. I like these cool like cybernetic suits. I like the main character and stuff. The potential for these powers so far is my favorite part. I really like the suits, and I like the zipper idea as well. I thought that was a really excellent thing to get introduced early on, because it's such a simple thing that you can do, because it's not like you have to have some, oh, I got a black hole cannon whip or something. It could be like, oh yeah, I have a machine gun attachment. I have a jetpack attachment. You know, there's a lot of stuff you can just add on that can be really simple yet really useful in any of these environments. A flamethrower. Maybe you get like some form of like big rail spike, like hydraulic rammer, so you can like fix parts of like buildings that are gonna fall and destroy people or something. Yeah, it's a lot of interesting ideas. Other than that, like it was mostly an action chapter, but I think there was also like some really good character moments between Kaname and his brother, as well as some just nice like exposition of some of these, just the way the suits and these weapons work. So other than that, comment below, tell me your thoughts are about this chapter. I've seen some people really enjoying Zipman. I haven't looked at like rankings for it yet. Some of its early rankings, obviously only at chapter 3, probably won't really have much to really go off of until like maybe like 7 or 8, close to when one of the volumes will come out. But as it is, just going off of this chapter and the other previous 2, I enjoy it, and I really hope that this series doesn't get axed, but you know, is doing pretty well. I know that the author, you know, used to work for Horikoshi and Oda, so he's got some hopefully some security nets the system and all this. But other than that, like I said, comment below, thumbs up the video, but from the like button and the subscribe button, and check out my other videos. So I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed, and I thank you all for listening. Bye.